recipient of the 2023 Campus Prevention Network Seal of Prevention. Presented by Vector Solutions, the CPN Seal of Prevention is awarded to institutions of higher education that have demonstrated leadership in digital prevention programming focused on student safety, well-being, and inclusion. Postal union workers from Pennsylvania will head to the nation's capital in early May for a national rally to raise awareness about the challenges faced by the U.S. Postal Service. Danielle Smith reports the workers say staff shortages, consolidations, and office closures are all affecting mail delivery.
The U.S. Postal Service goal is 95% on-time delivery across its vast network of 167 million addresses nationwide. Kimberly Miller with the American Postal Workers Union in Pennsylvania says the worker shortage means some post offices close their facilities early and sees delays in processing the mail. Miller says rural customers often are hardest hit.
We're operating on minimal staffing. Many customers are experiencing it at the front lines. Post offices are trying to curtail hours instead of hiring adequate staffing. There's always been a shortage, and now it seems to get worse and worse. And the mail, there's a real delay in getting it to your door.
Miller says she isn't a fan of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy's 10-year plan to move letter sorting and distribution from local offices into large regional hubs. In 2020, DeJoy put a plan into effect known as Delivering for America to minimize employee turnover by converting more part-time staff to career status.
Our newscast this hour is being brought to you by St. Barnabas, the perfect place for mom.
I'm Patty.
And I'm Bob. We're retired, and we live at St. Barnabas in the Village.
We used to have a house.
Lived in it for 40 years.
Raised our kids.
But it became too much. The upkeep, the stairs.
Moving seemed like such a hassle. We didn't even know where to start, so we didn't.
Until we met Cindy at St. Barnabas.
She talked us through our options.
Yeah, and she helped us with our move and all the arrangements.
There was so much stuff. Who knew we had 3 fondue pots?
But she made it easy.
So easy.
Now we enjoy ourselves.
Golf, the pool, new friends, shuttles to where we want to go.
The pub and the food.
So good.
There wasn't a long-term commitment or any large fees.
And they have a healthcare system on campus with doctors if we need it. The kids really like that.
The kids like to come and eat with us.
There's an easier, worry-free way to retire at the Village at St. Barnabas. Come visit us for a free and informative counseling session and personal tour.
I can't believe you waited so long.
I can't believe you waited so long.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We'll see some patchy fog early this morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 60. Tonight, look for cloudy skies with a low of 43 and a chance of showers in the early afternoon on Friday, then mostly cloudy with a high near 65. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, March 7th of 2024, at 10 after 9, we've got a temperature of 43 degrees with some foggy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
You've heard me use the phrase "hit the ground running." It is a phrase that my father used to tell me. Typically, after about the second or third time he tried to get me to wake up, you need to hit the ground running. Today's show, we're hitting the ground running. Scott Tatey joins the show later. There will be the ransoming of a coffee cup. Mike Romide, every Thursday, the best of Beaver County. But this is the Thursday once a month where we get to ask the commissioners. Jack Manning is in the studio with me, and Tony Amadio is in the studio with me. And this is being live streamed. If you want to ask the commissioners by calling, okay, 724-843-1888 or 774-1888. If you'd like to post your questions in the comments section of the live Facebook feed, which is going on now. You guys want to wave at everybody? Yeah,
sure, Eddie.
This is live. See, they're not AI. Post your questions in the comments section. We'll get to as many questions as we possibly can, and we'll get to talking. And I will say this, when you guys come in, I know more about what's going on in this county than I did before. And that alone, that's a good thing.
I appreciate that.
Are they shutting down that bridge?
Not as far as I know, but
the Monaca whatever bridge.
Yeah, there's repairs that are scheduled. I thought it was actually 25 when it was supposed to go
for
forward.
2 months, I think.
Yeah. But I think there'll be some temporary slowdowns and shortages.
Why would you be left out of the loop? And I'm thinking back to what we just heard
It's a
Curtis say.
PennDOT project.
Right.
PennDOT lists all those things. They are on their website. If you go, I'm sure, to the PennDOT website, it'll tell you all the construction projects that are going there. We signed off on them over a year ago, a whole bunch of different projects there. Not sign off on them, but are alerted to them. So we sometimes we're the last people to know, quite frankly.
It's not our project. It's a state project. So we hear it when you hear it.
How often do you deal with questions like my opening question? You have no idea anything about it. Nothing's come down the pipe about it, and it just appears.
Well,
on social media. How much social media that's wrong do you have to explain to people that's wrong?
I have weaned myself significantly off of social media because it's not a reliable source for a lot of things. And I try not to deal with speculation and rumors. I like to deal with facts and reality. So, usually when there's something we need to know and something we need to get involved with, we get called, people schedule meetings, we come in and we have conversations about stuff. So that's the way we like to get stuff done.
And if people have any questions, they know how to get a hold of us. That's for sure.
Yeah. How much misinformation is out there? Well, now let me change the question. Why did you wean yourself off of social media?
Well, for a multitude of reasons. I've said this before. I had a love-hate relationship with social media, with Facebook and those things, mostly hate. Yeah, it was just, it was tedious. I don't mind sharing with families and friends things that are going on in my life.
You share a lot of pictures of your dogs, and I appreciate
exactly. Exactly. Those are the kinds of things. But I don't deal in policy issues or anything that's more commissioner job related. Usually I just don't delve into that because you get into this banter back and forth with differing viewpoints and you don't resolve anything at all on Facebook or those kinds of platforms. And there's a lot of people that are there just to stir up stuff, right?
That coupled with the fact that we're out every day. Mm-hmm. I mean, we run into constituents going to the store. As a matter of fact, my wife wasn't feeling well. She asked me to pick up a few things at the store for her. And I stopped at Giant Eagle, and sure enough, I ended up talking to two people that had questions about what's going on in the county.
Yeah, you can't do this job sitting by a desk anyway. Eddie, and I've said this before, I've been counted them all. There's 5 or 6 dozen organizations, groups, communities that I am interacting with constantly, going into those communities, into those events, talking to the United Way, talking to chamber members, talking to different groups.
I see both of you everywhere.
Yeah, and that's how you have to be out there and understand, seek to understand, and then be understood of what the solutions need to be. But you can't do that sitting behind a desk, and you can't do that on your phone through social media. That's my approach. Right. I'm pretty sure it's Tony's approach as well, based on how we've conducted ourselves over the last 5 years.
Is it not that somebody's had to say, well, you're a public figure, you should make yourself available?
We are.
We are.
But I'm talking about available to the constituents that don't go to those events where you might be, or don't shop at the same time you shop.
That's when I'll run into them at the grocery store,
right.
Run into them on the street. And we don't hide. I can tell you
people
that.
Know they call my office, and if I don't answer, somebody will answer, and I'll get back to people. If they don't happen to be at one of those events, or in one of those groups, or in one of those board meetings, or one of those things. But for the most part, you get a pretty good sense and pulse of what's going on. Some people have individual issues that are difficult to resolve. that are outside of our purview. They're usually a local municipal issue or a state issue versus something that we have control over as county commissioners. But there is a lot we can do and a lot we can influence. But we meet with those groups. They come to us, and a lot of times we go to them.
Tony Amadio and Jack Manning are my guests as the commissioners. Tony, did you have to learn to tell somebody we're not going to fix that? Even though it's our job.
Yes.
How do you do that? Well, if it was your job, but it's still not going to happen.
It goes back to the levels of government once again.
Okay.
If it's a county thing we can address, we address it. But if it's a state issue, we may make a contact to the state representative. Or if it's a federal issue, we'll make the contact to the appropriate official. But we can't do things that are on a federal level or do things that are on a state level. We can't fix a state bridge. We can't fill a pothole on a township road. We just can't do it. We could pick the phone up and call the appropriate person that can make that happen, but we just can't do it.
If it's an emergency, let's say the Fern Hollow Bridge falling down, can that be expedited? Are you going to get the call taken?
Yes, that's an emergency. We take all the calls.
Sure. I'm talking about your calls to the people that can, the state
they'll
people.
take the call.
Do they?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We all have very good relationships with our state delegation, but also the state officials. We were just at CCAP, the County Commissioner Association meeting in Harrisburg. We just got back a day
What does
ago.
CCAP stand for? Acronyms scare me.
County Commissioner Association of Pennsylvania, CCAP.
County Commissioner.
CCAP.
Okay.
And meet 4 times a year about, I think. And the governor was there, spoke at lunch. And what I think, I know what I personally appreciate with the governor, and we saw this with the train derailment, is when it comes to solving the issues of the Commonwealth or a county, it has to be a bipartisan approach. You set politics aside, and he came and spoke. And I think the fact that the governor was a former county commissioner before
I remember he was there
before he became a state rep. I know he served with Jim Marshall when he was a state rep, and then he became Attorney General, and then he ran for governor. I think he has a good grasp of where, as he says, the rubber hits the road at the county commissioner level. And so he understands that we can't solve all those problems, but all those problems roll downhill to us usually, where people are looking for solutions, and I appreciate that. And we had good conversation, but I know I can reach out to the governor's office, Tony can reach out to the governor's office, and somebody will respond back to us about the situation we have that we know that we can't resolve on our own. I mean, the train derailment is a good example, right? We're not Norfolk Southern. It was in Ohio, but it was impacting Beaver County. We're at the table with the DEP, with the EPA, with PEMA, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management folks, with the governor, all those folks trying to come up with what do we need to do to help the people of Beaver County and Darlington and South Beaver and all the folks that were impacted by that. So we have those kind of relationships. It happened early in his term, so I think we got off to a good relationship building there. But we all have that capability to pick up the phone and have somebody from Harrisburg respond to us.
And it's a perfect example, as I've always said. You learn more at a breakfast meeting, at a lunch meeting where the governor was, for example, this past time. After the meetings are over, when you're having these social hours, you make your contacts, you meet people. They give you their card, you give them your card. I mean, we help each other. Maybe Lawrence County's having a problem that we've already addressed, and it just provides a great rapport back and forth between county officials.
When the train derailment happened, when the National Transportation Safety Board chair, Jennifer Humday, came into her first visit to the area, she had suffered a broken foot, I think it was, and came in a boot there and stuff. And a couple of us sat down at the table with her. And ironically, one of my first conversations with her as a former plant manager and somebody who dealt in the petrochemical industry was that I didn't think they had to blow up 5 cars to solve that. And I told her that at that meeting, that I'm familiar enough to know that you go to the experts of the material makers to do that.
And
ironically,
them.
just today, you heard Curtis read, the news, and I saw it last night, that they said, hey, that was an unnecessary step. And it was only reinforced by the their desire to get trains running, which seemed to be the most important thing to them, versus making sure the safety of the public and the environment was taken care of. But digress a little bit, but the fact that the chair came in, we were invited to the table to meet with her along with some Darlington Township officials.
And we were there when they blew them up, but we had no say in it whatsoever.
No input at all.
That was way above our pay grade.
Have you ever heard who was the final decider? Because I've looked for that information, and the best you find, and Jack,
the governor of Ohio, Governor DeWine, was the final okay
based on what
to make that happen. But he was getting his information from the Norfolk Southern people, not from
saying it's cool to blow it up.
Vinyl people or any emergency management. Now I'm way behind the scenes on something like that. But I can tell you, I had a similar situation happen to me. I was a plant manager in my industry days, and you defer to the people that own the contents of the car.
They're the ones that know what it is.
Know what they're doing, and our engineers to say, no, if you put some water in that, you cool that down, we're checking the temperatures. Doesn't look like there's a exothermic reaction going inside. It's not going to blow.
It's not gurgling.
And originally, our EMS director, Eric Brewer, said, hey, it looks like they're going to blow up one car. And I'm kind of going, okay, that must be in really bad shape. And there must be something happening internally. Turns out nothing was happening internally. And then went from one car to 5 cars, and we're like, what the heck is that all about?
It's like fireworks. Once you open the box, you're gonna blow up as many as you can.
It's hindsight. Now we have to deal with the reality of that's what we're dealing with. How do we clean it up? How do we move on? How do we make sure that people's lives can be put back in order and their quality of life can be restored to what it was, which we're continuing to work diligently with a bunch of organizations.
Can the new information serve as a restarter of focus? Because you both know this. It's a huge story until the next huge story. Today's rule or today's announcement yesterday, whatever it was, saying they didn't need to blow that stuff up, that being officially recognized.
Well,
where now?
I think the biggest benefit of something like that now is to force the proper rail safety going forward to be in place. And we've been a bit frustrated by how stymied some of the recommendations from the National Trace. I have great respect for the National Transportation Safety Board. These are bipartisan experts on engineering, all this stuff, and they go and they find the root causes of things, and then they make recommendations. A lot of times those recommendations sit there and are never implemented. And then the next thing happens, and you go, oh, yeah, remember 5 years ago when we recommended you do this, this, and this? Nobody ever took it up. But they can't enforce anything at the National Transportation Safety Board. Congress controls making the laws and the enforcement mechanisms to make sure those laws are being followed. So, that's where that rests. And I think the biggest benefit out of those statements and this stuff is maybe to force Congress to act and pass the bills that have been proposed out there.
It should have been passed already.
Yes.
Shoot me a general percentage of the number of Congress people that coincidentally own stock in some railroad. Just what would your ballpark guess be?
I have no idea, but
good answer.
All I know is out of the 435 elected officials, I guarantee you there's some of the wealthiest people in the world are sitting right there.
Just remember when you were younger and you played Monopoly, every road had a railroad on it.
Reading Railroad, B&O Railroad. What were the other two?
Reading, B&O.
Reading.
Short Line.
Atlantic? No, that was one of the crappy properties that you thought was going to make you money.
Which I always made money with.
Yeah. Oh, so you were a monopoly slumlord
yes.
Before you went into teaching.
Yes.
It's Ask the Commissioners. You brought up an interesting word, and I want to get to it after we take care of news. Think about the word bipartisanship. We'll get back. Your calls at 724-843-1888 or 774-1888. Post your question. The live Facebook feed is going on right now. Just search Beaver County Radio. Simple stuff.
The Beaver County Conservation District is celebrating spring with 2 of their most popular annual programs. The first is their Tire Collection Day, funded by the district's Mosquito Vector Disease Program, Saturday, April 13th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pre-registration is required for this event. Visit beavercountyconservationdistrict.org to register. Cost is $2.50 per tire, cash only, accepting car and light truck tires up to 20 inches off the rim. The second event is their annual tree sale. Orders for the tree sale are due by March 11th, and order pickup is April 27th at the district office. Balsam fir, white spruce, and many more plus fruit trees will be sold. Call the district staff for order forms. For registration for the Mosquito Vector Disease Program or the tree sale, go online or call the Beaver County Conservation Office in Aliquippa.
If being well educated is important to you, then you need to get to Friendly Federal Credit Union now. This is Cindy Amadio. Besides helping to educate you and your family about managing money, we also help educate the future generations of Beaver County.
It's true. Right now, applications for the annual Carl D. Ross and Anthony S. Payne Memorial Scholarships are now available. 2 $1,000 scholarships are awarded every year to help fund education for our local members. This is Karen Latchall. Click friendlyfcu.org or visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or to apply.
Learn more, get it, about what your credit union can do for you. Visit the place that makes more sense for you. Friendly Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union, you got a friend.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RoeMonuments.com.
Can the card you carry really change your life? It can when it's a low-rate Freedom United Federal Credit Union fixed-rate Visa card. This is Pat Travail, and I'm the lady in the loan department with the big scissors. No, you silly. I'm not doing haircuts, but I'm going to use those shears to cut up those nasty high-rate store charge cards that you're carrying around. Why, you ask? Because you won't be needing those cards anymore after you take advantage of Freedom United's low 6.99% fixed rate balance transfer special. Good for a limited time on new money transfers to a Freedom United Visa card with approved credit. Potential money saved on lower monthly payments really can be life-changing. So can a haircut, for that matter. But we'll worry about that later. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union, where the interest is in you. Member NCUA, equal housing lender.
Our success is our success. We belong to you.
Pittsburgh Penguins hockey is back on Beaver County Radio.
Crosby out the center. Tried to get around the stick, and McAvoy does. On the backhand, centers in front. Russ flips it on net and scores! That was magical!
Tune in all season long as the revamped Pittsburgh Penguins are on a quest to win their 6th Stanley Cup championship. Penguins hockey on Beaver County Radio is being brought to you by the St. Barnabas Health System, Falcone's Boone Township Ford, Patriot Home Care, Friendly Federal Credit Union, the Keystone Wellness Program, and Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect cloudy skies today with a high near 58 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. The head of the National Transportation Safety Board told Congress Wednesday that the decision to blow up open 5 tank cars and burn the toxic chemicals inside them 3 days after the Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine last year wasn't justified. But NTSB Chair Jennifer Homedy said the key decision makers who feared those tank cars were going to explode never had all the information they needed. The opinion of the experts at Oxy Vinyls that no dangerous chemical reaction was happening inside the vinyl chloride cars was never relayed to Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and the first responders in charge. Congressman Chris DeLuzio announced that his constituent guest to join him at President Joe Biden's 2024 State of the Union is Mike Caron, chairman of the Board of Supervisors for Darlington Township. As Darlington Township is just over the state line from East Palestine and was one of the communities impacted by the derailment, dozens of households were told to evacuate and the community was left with fear and uncertainty around their health, livelihoods, and well-being after the derailment. DeLuzio says that he hopes his visit to the United States Capitol will bring back needed attention to the Norfolk Southern derailment's impact on Western Pennsylvanians and the urgent need for rail safety reform. The Beaver Police Department has resumed their nighttime parking enforcement. This affects vehicles that are parked overnight, and to avoid a ticket, they ask that you follow the posted street parking and maintenance signs. The Beaver Borough requests that residents remind their neighbors. The Community College of Beaver County has been named the recipient of the 2023 Campus Prevention Network Seal of Prevention. Presented by Vector Solutions, the CPN Seal of Prevention is awarded to institutions of higher education that have demonstrated leadership in digital prevention programming focused on student safety, well-being, and inclusion. Postal union workers from Pennsylvania will head to the nation's capital in early May for a national rally to raise awareness about the challenges faced by the U.S. Postal Service. Danielle Smith reports the workers say staff shortages, consolidations, and office closures are all affecting mail delivery.
The U.S. Postal Service goal is 95% on-time delivery across its vast network of 167 million addresses nationwide. Kimberly Miller with the American Postal Workers Union in Pennsylvania says the worker shortage means some post offices close their facilities early and sees delays in processing the mail. Miller says rural customers often are hardest hit.
We're operating on minimal staffing. Many customers are experiencing it at the front lines. Post offices are trying to curtail hours instead of hiring adequate staffing. There's always been a shortage, and now it seems to get worse and worse. In the mail, there's a real delay in getting it to your door.
Miller says she isn't a fan of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy's 10-year plan to move letter sorting and distribution from local offices into large regional hubs. In 2020, DeJoy put a plan into effect known as Delivering for America to minimize employee turnover by converting more part-time staff to career status.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We'll see some patchy fog early this morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 60. Tonight, look for cloudy skies with a low of 43 and a chance of showers in the early afternoon on Friday, then mostly cloudy with a high near 65. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, March 7th at 9:35, we've got a temperature of 43 degrees with foggy skies in Beaver County. You know, before the break, I heard you guys talking about Monopoly. I think the one railroad you were forgetting, the Pennsylvania.
Oh,
that's the one.
I feel deep shame now. Yeah. You're right. B&O, Pennsylvania, Reading, Short Line.
There you go.
I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
What was the one you had to have, Curtis? That first trip around the board, you said, I'm going to land on this and I'm going to buy it right now before I fritter away my God-given 200 or whatever bucks. Boardwalk?
Well, yeah.
Tony's back to being a slumlord again. No, that's high rent.
Place. I liked getting the smaller ones, you know, the ones right there at the beginning. What are they? I can't even think. Baltic Avenue.
The baby blues. The dark blues was Boardwalk and Park Place. The baby blues, Baltic and Mediterranean.
Cheap to build up. Get some hotels on them. Easy money.
I like to take control of the board.
Well, if you got the Boardwalk, it's over.
Jack, you want to get on it? It's Ask
not
the
really.
Commissioners, and we're arguing about monopoly. So welcome to the program. Thank you, Curtis.
You got it.
It's Teleforum. It is Ask the Commissioners. Jack Manning is here, and Tony Amadio is here. And if you don't believe me, you can go on Facebook and look at the live stream. You used the word before the break, and I'm going to ask both of you, but Jack, I'll start with you. You talked about the conference and the governor there, and the governor understands to get stuff done. Bipartisan is the word.
Mm-hmm.
How bipartisan is Harrisburg versus an outsider's perception?
I think it's more so than people would believe it is. I mean, look, everybody's trying to score political points, and the loud voices on both extremes will be trying to always score points. But I can tell you that there's a lot more bipartisanship. I mean, even in the CCAP conference, most of the counties are Republican controlled, even though the statewide positions are Democrat. You know, geographically with the 67 counties within the Commonwealth, even a lot of the hardcore Republican conservative counties agree with a lot of the things that are in the governor's budget, and they don't want to. They know they need those for their constituents and stuff. So eventually, they're going to carve through all of the noise from both sides to get to solutions that are going to help their communities, and that's what the governor's approach is, and that's what people's approach should be. And I think most of the state reps will do that and come around and have those kind of. I mean, when the train derailment happened, Mastriano came with his Senate subcommittee to the community college and held a hearing on it to try and move some stuff forward. And I think you're going to continue to see that. But yeah, if you just read the news or social media, it sounds like it's a lot worse than it is, I believe.
Pennsylvania is two islands of democracy in an ocean of republicanism.
You should put that on a shirt.
Should I?
Somebody will buy it.
But I want to note, though, the governor did say he had the only legislature in the whole country that was divided.
Yeah. Pennsylvania is the only state in the union that has a divided government with a governor of one party and the controlling folks of another party. So which forces the need to be bipartisan.
Are people being critical of that, or is that pointed out the benefit of checks and balances?
Well, I don't know if anybody's being critical of it. I mean, again,
it's just what's up.
People are trying to score political points will score political points for their perspective and their party when they can. But at the end of the day, they know they're going to have to come back to the table if they want to get anything done. What I really despise are people that are elected that really don't want to solve any problems. They simply have an ideological viewpoint that they want to force on everybody else, and they just want to hold up progress on everything to score points and try and get their way. Yeah. And I have no time and no tolerance for folks like that.
Are there more people?
From either party.
Are there more people like that than there were 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
I don't know. Their voices seem to be amplified more. I don't know statistically if there are any more than there ever used to be. But their voices are amplified because of social media and because of the news cycle, the way it runs. But
getting back to the two islands of democracy.
I want to get back to that because that implies that the Republicans aren't doing democracy?
No.
Okay.
It means that there's two bastions.
No.
Uh-huh.
Two bastions of Democratic control, Philadelphia.
And it's Philly and Western PA.
Philly and Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, Philadelphia County.
And the ocean of republicanism is the rest of the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have Democrats in control statewide, and you have Republicans in control everywhere else.
Population centers tend to be more Democrat, but the rest of the rural counties,
how much is America misled when we see red and blue maps, but they don't take into account the specific population points?
Well, yeah, you see that all the time, and I kind of chuckle over
that
it.
whole state's red.
Geographically,
the whole state has 11 people.
Different than exactly. And we see that. I mean, there's some counties in Pennsylvania, 20,000 people. I mean, but it's a county. It's one of 67. They've got 3 commissioners.
I remember
they go to
17 years ago when I first got elected, we were a freshman class coming in, and I was talking to one of the commissioners from up north, up in the Northwest, and we were talking about our election amounts. And I asked him, I said, well, how many votes did you get to get elected? He said, 782. I said, what? He said, 782. I said, that's quite possible in one precinct in my.
We have school board elections that could have that.
Oh, yes.
They could have that many votes.
Well, the example we saw yesterday, Joe Biden lost a primary in American Samoa, 56% to 44%. Do you know what the
28
total?
votes.
91. He lost
91?
51 to 40. It was a basketball game.
Yeah. I thought it was like 28 vote difference or something.
Oh, no, the difference, it ended up being 51 to 40.
51
so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the unknown guy hit his foul shots at the end. 724-843-1888, 774-1888. It's Ask the Commissioners. Tony Amadio and Jack Manning are in the studio. Hi, what is your name?
Eddie, this is Charlie. Good morning to you and the commissioners.
Good morning, Charlie. What is your question?
I hate to sound redundant, but it's my monthly question when the good gentlemen are there.
You don't hate to sound redundant. You thrive for it. What's your question?
Just like you do.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand. I was happy to see on the news that our new DA came to a Beaver Falls Crime Watch movie, was discussing meeting. And was discussing a lot of issues. But the issue came up about a detention center for the juvenile defenders, and the news really didn't go into a lot of details other than the DA was aware of the situation. So I know you guys are working on it. I'll hang up, bring us up to speed what's going on, because as the DA said on television the other day, the summer months are coming, and those kind of crimes are going to escalate.
Charlie, I appreciate it. Jack, when you were talking about counties helping other counties, a lack of a detention center is not a Beaver County problem. It is a Western PA problem.
Yes.
It is, and we're coming up with some solutions, short-term solutions, to house some of the folks. Lawrence County just opened, and we just had a regional conversation on that. Our warden's working with the deputy warden in Lawrence County, Loretta Spielvogel, for an arrangement for beds for, in case of justice, juveniles are being charged as adults need very specific state requirements to be held. We do have one in Beaver County. He's actually being held in Ohio somewhere. We have an agreement. We had one that was in our county jail.
Those agreements cost money, though.
Yeah. No, it's it's like $800 a day.
$800 a
for
day
some of these to house them. Yeah, no, it's not cheap because there's not big availability, and there's a lot of insurance, there's a lot of security, there's a lot of extra things that you have to do for those. We did have a second juvenile that's being charged as an adult, but he just turned 18, so he's now in Gen Pop at our jail. Yeah. But when those things come up, if we get more than 2, we're stuck. Now, those are the most severe cases, right? Where a juvenile is being charged as an adult. Hopefully, this agreement with Lawrence County will give us a backup plan for those. What we're still working on and struggling with are the unsecure and just regular detention centers, and we're still working and collaborating across county lines.
The biggest problem, I'm on the Courts and Corrections Committee at CCAP, and we had a long discussion on juvenile detention. The major problem is if a county opens up a facility, let's just say, for point of example, the insurance is $250,000, liability insurance. As soon as you take in one juvenile charged with a gun crime, your policies can go up to $1.2 million.
So quintuple with one person coming in.
That was just one example that was given, and there was all kinds of people there from the state and the state criminal.
Is the system, it doesn't sound like the current system is sustainable financially. If it costs $800 a day to send a kid to Ohio.
Yeah. Some of that is reimbursable from the state, which doesn't make it any better. I mean, taxpayers are still paying for that, but there just aren't a whole lot of alternatives. And with some of these unsecure ones, or one of these ones that are a lesser thing, where there still needs to be a bed. A lot of the facilities that do have beds are very selective about who they'll let into that. So if you do have a kid that isn't being charged as an adult, but was violent towards their grandmother, or did some, or
particularly heinous,
or started a fire or something like that, these shelters, their liability goes up, and they're saying, no, we won't take that kid from out of county.
And 10 years ago, when we were operating Allencrest, it cost Beaver County $3 million. When we closed Allencrest down, our budget went down to like $1 million or $1.5 million to run the operation for juvenile services. It's back up again, I'm sure. But to open up another facility, God only knows what those costs are going to be. And I'm not talking about building a new building or building a new facility. I'm talking about the whole budget that would surround building and maintaining it and having the certified officers there being there 24 hours a day.
Is this an impossible dream because of regulations and insurance costs?
Well, you heard that was what I said last month we were here. The problem is
your words stick with me, Tony.
Once you open a facility, the regulate once, like say 3 or 4 counties open facilities, the regulations will constantly change and make it more and more restrictive and more expensive for the county to operate.
I think one of the more challenging things, though, Eddie, is trying to find the personnel, trying to find the preventive measures, trying to find the mental health experts, trying to give the right support to the schools and to the parents to find help for the kids so that we don't need as many detention beds and we aren't in these situations. And I like to take a holistic viewpoint of this. And to his credit, the CCAP's priorities as well as the governor's priorities are to try and put more money towards mental health, walk-in clinics, health for youth, health for schools, mental health counseling. We have a great program. You've heard me talk about the Youth Ambassador program that we have here, run through our behavioral health system at the county with some very talented people, having youth ambassadors, peer-to-peer stuff. I know there was a couple of suicides that just happened locally with some teenagers. It breaks my heart every time I hear about those things. So, I mean, we have a lot of mental health issues. We haven't recovered from the pandemic in that standpoint to get the mental state and the mental health of our youth where it needs to be. We're also working on more programs, more activities, more things to get kids engaged to follow the right path in life. And those are difficult, but those are some of the more challenging things. I mean, it's one thing to find some beds where we can temporarily house somebody who's crossed the line. It's another thing to try and prevent people from crossing the line.
What's the one facility, Western Psych?
I'm not sure. The last one that was closed was Mayfield.
Yeah,
Mayfield.
there just aren't enough around, enough clinics. We've had conversations with Heritage Valley about this and some other people.
Where do you think these people go? Yeah. Where do you think they are right now? They're in jails. They're in our prisons.
Right.
They're underneath bridges.
Right.
I mean,
these statistics for the homeless, you're talking about over 70%. There are mental health issues involved.
Well, there's either a substance
or it's combined with
or mental health. Usually there's a codependency there, and I don't know which comes first. Sometimes it's the mental health creates the substance use disorder, or the substance use stuff creates that. But there's codependencies on most of the things. It starts early, and it's a challenge. That's why I think it's one of the biggest challenges we have in the county to find out. Not enough walking. I mean, I talked to somebody last weekend before I went to Harrisburg who said that she was friends with the classmate that committed suicide, and her daughter was looking. She was looking for her daughter to talk to somebody. The weekend was coming, so everybody was home. They were hoping that when they came back in school that there would be some counseling available and stuff, but it's very difficult to find the psychiatrists and the psychologists and the mental health facilities that we need there.
How much?
Throwing money at it is one thing. Finding the people to fill those positions that are actually taking those jobs on is another.
How much is the societal stigma playing a part in that? Are we getting better with that? Are we having conversations about mental health that we couldn't have 5 years ago?
I don't know. And again, to me, that's another thing where social media is exacerbating this, and the bullying that goes on through social media. It used to be maybe it dealt with that at the lunchroom in the class because teachers would have control. And lunch would get out of control, but now
we handled it
24/7.
back then. You just can't handle it today.
How much tougher is it to get a kid to, as my dad would say, straighten up and fly right, as an educator now versus an educator when you were
I haven't been in a
snatching them up?
classroom in 17 years.
Were you still allowed to grab a kid by the ear and drag him out like George Bailey?
Back then we had corporal punishment, I can tell you that.
Did you have what was the name of your paddle?
I didn't have a paddle.
You didn't have a paddle?
No. But the problem today,
we
used to kid around with is every family has a lawyer today.
Yeah.
And it's not like
problem.
it was 25 years ago.
That could be a problem. Yeah.
And you can't touch the kids. You can't discipline them like they did in the old days. Not that I'm saying that was right.
Do you get special dispensation if you're their coach? And I'm not being flippant. I'm wondering the different realities.
As a former athletic director, I can't comment on that.
Okay. I got so many questions just about that.
I got you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You guys show up, and we're going to talk about one thing, and it ends up. That's why I love when you guys come in. Jack Manning and Tony Amadio are my guests, and we're asking the commissioners: is there anything that I should have brought up that I didn't bring up with you two? I'll see you guys at the Maple Syrup and Music Fest, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is, when we were talking about bipartisanship, election integrity is one of the things where I'm very proud of the effort that we've done in Beaver County. It's not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's ensuring that every vote counts. Everybody has the opportunity to have their vote counted. And when you want to talk about bipartisanship, I think that's one of the best examples of what we do at the county level to make sure that things are done. There's nothing political in anything that we do on that election
and proof
board.
of that is our election director is very, very well respected by both parties.
Everywhere, yes.
Does that get noticed when you go to conferences and they see, you got Republicans here? And how do you do that?
Yeah, you know, I'm very proud. I'm new. Tony's been obviously there a lot longer, but I'm talking in different counties. And 3 years ago, we had the Solicitor of the Year for CCAP and Garen Fidelis. Last year, our Emergency Management Director, Eric Brewer, was recognized as the emergency management friend of the county. And then I guarantee you, Colin Sisk one of these days is going to be nominated and be chosen by the Commonwealth as one of the best election directors. He's just so good at what he does, and he's on top of it. He's so transparent. He's meticulous. He's just been terrific, and I enjoy working with him. So Beaver County's got some things that we really do exceptionally well and have some great people doing it. Not necessarily Tony and I, but some great people in the county doing
Do people like that stand out immediately? People that are on it, and you think if that person wants to, they can go far.
They stand out, but you also find they're pretty humble about what they do, so they don't get the notoriety because they like doing their job and being competent and excellent at what they do. And
they like to be under the radar.
Yeah, they aren't in it for the notoriety, that's for sure.
They're probably not even on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Tony, thank you for coming in. Jack, thank you for coming in.
Hey, just one quick, my condolences to Tom Albany's family.
Yes.
I was at their viewing yesterday, and Tom was a great, worked with him in multiple capacities, but a great community servant, great leader, just an all-around great guy. And my condolences to his family and his son, Tommy, there in New Brighton. So it's a big loss for us.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's Teleforum, Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio, your hometown radio station. You're listening live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, proud to call Beaver County home.
Tune in to Beaver County Radio every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. for the Sports Corner with Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier. The Sports Corner talks about everything that is currently going